I sold all of my Sony G Masters for this lens, but did I fuck up? So this is the Sigma 28-105, and I did sell all of my Sony lenses, which wasn't actually originally the plan. This lens threw me for a little bit of a curveball that we will get into in this video, but why did I buy this lens? So ultimately, the problem that I was trying to solve with this lens was I really loved my G Master 24-70, but I did find myself wanting a little bit more reach out of that lens. However, when I swapped to my 70-200, I wanted it to be a little bit wider. I always felt like I was stuck in between the two lenses. And obviously when I'm on the side of a mountain or at a motocross track, that's not really an ideal situation to be in. I don't want to be changing lenses all the time. You're kind of just opening up the opportunity to get dust on your sensor, and then you may ruin a bunch of footage and not even realize until later. So I quite often found myself just sticking with my 24-70 and then punching in a little bit in post if I needed it, which again is not an absolutely ideal scenario, but it did get the job done. So when I saw this lens, which is 28-105 f 2.8 all the way through, it kind of ticked a lot of boxes. So it is a Sigma Art lens, which is essentially their version of a G Master lens. It's their top of the line series of lenses. And honestly, if Sony released a 24-105 2.8 G Master, I would have bought that, but they don't have that lens available. Sony seems to be moving in the other direction with their zoom lenses, which is kind of the opposite of what I personally want out of a lens. They seem to be shortening up the focal ranges on their G Master lenses a little bit, and then opting for an f2 instead of a 2.8, which is cool, but those lenses are huge. And for someone who shoots action sports, the zoom range can be a little bit of a deal breaker. We're in very high-paced environments. We don't always have time to be changing lenses. Things happen fast. So for me, the more zoom range I can get out of a lens, the better. Now, first off, the build quality of this thing is absolutely insane. Like I said, it is part of Sigma's Art range, which is their top-of-the-line lenses, and it is exactly that. The build quality is just as good, if not even nicer than the G Master lenses that I had. So absolutely no complaints at all as far as build quality goes with this lens. Now there was one thing that made me almost immediately repackage this lens and return it, but my wife had actually flown all the way from the Gold Coast where we live to Rotorua in New Zealand to bring this lens to me because it got delivered the day after I flew to New Zealand. And the reason why I almost returned it is that the zoom ring on Sigma lenses actually is backwards compared to Sony lenses, which I did not know about when I ordered this lens. And I was furious about it when I got this lens. I could not believe that that was a thing. I know that other camera manufacturers have their zoom rings go the other way, but it did not occur to me that a third-party lens would also do the same thing. However, my wife had flown all the way to New Zealand and brought the lens to me. So I figured it was worth at least trying the lens out, and I kind of was hoping that I hated it so that I could just return it. But honestly, it was really good. Here's some of the footage from Rotorua in New Zealand. You be the judge. I think this footage looks absolutely incredible. La cama sin fin no termina. Te fuego como ratatata. Me mata con tu tatatata. Me hables y yo ratatata. Mi cuerpo como tatatata. Quiero sentir tu cuerpo, amarte lento como el onda. Después tu entero, seguir sin tiempo, llevar tu aliento, beber tu centro. Ven pa' acá mi amor y cómelo. Ven pa' acá mi amor y toma, toma, toma. Ven pa' acá mi amor y cómelo. Ven pa' acá mi amor y toma, toma. I knew immediately as soon as I turned my camera on in New Zealand that this lens was way too good to get rid of. But that left me with a new problem now, is that I'd sold my 70-200 and my 24-70 and replaced it with this lens, but I still had a 16-35 that zoomed the wrong way. And I spent most of the trip while I was in New Zealand trying to remember what direction I had to zoom. I was constantly zooming the wrong direction. Every time I would swap lenses or swap to my second camera body that was using a different lens, I would zoom the wrong direction every single time, and it drove me insane. But this lens was way too good to get rid of. So I sold my 16 to 35 as well, and I bought the Sigma 14 to 24 to go along with my 28 to 105, so they both zoom in the same direction. And I can't say that this was on my bingo cards for 2026, to be honest, to be using exclusively Sigma zoom lenses, but I have been so impressed with these lenses. I always kind of thought that third-party lenses were a bit gross, and I was like G-Master all the way, obviously. But these things have been so good. The only downside to the 14 to 24 is that it does have a, I don't know what that's called, like a bulbous? What is it called when the front of the fucking lens is like that? Large protruding bulbous front element. Google says bulbous is correct, so we're rolling with that. It does have a bulbous front element. The only reason that's a downside is that you can't run filters on the front of it. I usually run Helix Maglock filters and the lens caps that go along with them, which can't run on this one, which is not a big deal because my FX6 has internal ND filters, but you can run an ND filter in the back of the lens. It's got a little clip to hold it in. So that is my current lens setup. I probably will buy a new 70 to 200 at some stage, maybe. But at the moment, I'm really stoked with these two lenses. I am once again battling myself in my head about, do I get a Sigma 70 to 200? Because that thing is huge and it won't fit in my camera case. Or if I get the Sony f4 Mark II, because it's actually a little bit smaller than the 28 to 105. So that'll fit in my camera case standing up, and then I'll actually have room for it. But it does feel a little weird having only two zoom lenses at the moment. I do have a Sony 85mm that I use occasionally as well, but these are my main two lenses at the moment, which is weird coming from the trifecta of Sony lenses, but I've been really happy with them. So I am going to leave you with a little bit more footage from both of these lenses. I will put on the screen which of the lenses the footage was shot with. And let me know if you have used Sigma lenses before and what you thought of them, because I am very impressed. Like I said, I really wanted to hate the 28 to 105 because I wanted to send it back. But it is a bit of a unicorn lens. There isn't really any other E-mount lenses available that do exactly what this does. So it was just too good to get rid of. But here's some more footage. Enjoy.